Hello, my name is Daniel London. I'm in philosophy Mondays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. 6. My attendance is I haven't missed any classes and I've been late twice. I'm gonna go through questions 1 through 19 for myself, and then I'm gonna transfer over to Chat GPT and read their answers afterwards. First question is, why was Socrates sentenced to death? To give a short answer, it's because he spread doubt. Because basically back then, religion was very strong, and Socrates kind of explained things that was not really of their view. He encouraged critical thinking. So what I mean by critical thinking is like he questioned everything. He never said anything was right or anything was wrong, but he questioned it, which the church kind of considered that as doubtful and like doubtful and like atheism. There we go. There we go. It's kind of spread as atheism when atheism and spreading a doubtful seed and authority. You kind of question. They took it as a challenge to their authority. What he was saying. So Socrates, they kind of have to kill him. That's supposed to be that's related to today also because we don't really want to take other point of views. We kind of reinforce our own by looking at other things. We reinforce our own views based on what we think is right or what we believe to be right, and we want things to prove them, even if they're wrong. Question two: why is there a conflict between science and religion? Pretty sure that's it's basically the same thing. It's pretty self-explanatory. Uh, Doubt and explanation. So basically, uh, what science did was get rid of God, per se. Not really get rid of him, but kind of explain things. When people will consider something, they would say, "Oh, it's the miracle of God" or something like that. But science kind of took that and be like, "Well, no, instead of God, this happened because of this reason." Again, as you always say, I'm not knocking. As my teacher always says, my professor, I'm not knocking the idea because you never know that could have happened for certain reasons. But that's kind of why science and religion butt heads. Religion believes this happened through what you could say faith in principles, while science kind of explain the process of it. It kind of got rid of the principle that religion believes in. Question three: why are our understanding of physics in general and the general rules of the universe so important in philosophy? It's important because you know to ask the right questions. When you ask the right questions, you can find the right answers. Philosophy is basically theories, uh, good questions. Good, if I say that right, good questions. But you wouldn't know what questions to ask if you didn't use use physics and the general rules that apply to philosophy. So basically, those help you come up with a question that then sparks the ideas that pursue them. What is eliminative materialism? It eliminates belief and it replaces eliminates like belief, like faith and like stuff like that, and it's replaced by materialistic stuff with evidence. For example, uh, it was used in class. The sun. Back then, people worshiped the sun as a god. Maybe even the god Ra for say in Egyptian times, and eliminated materialism was kind of based on science. They took it as like, well, it's not a god, it's a ball made, it's a star, but it's a ball gas is basically a gas that's super hot, the sun. So it basically replaces the unknown with material, something that can be seen and touched, an explanation, if you will, explanation. The camera's up here, kind of. The screen is kind of to the side. So question 5: what is meant by intertheoretic reductionism, and why does it help in critical thinking? So I put here kind of it's like putting theories through the gauntlet. So basically, it it uh it connects theories and like unifies knowledge. So basically, you will put one theory through the system and another theory through it, and it goes through a process of reveals like the, what do you call it, like the professor says in class, sociology, psychology, basically, math, science, or got like the gauntlet of the list. It goes through like goes math first, then it was like it was like explanations. I forget the list, but it's basically a list that of science principles that you put it through to see if it's real or not. Like, let me see. Like I said before, it connects the theories, unifies knowledge. It reveals the common principles. Like, it enhances the clarity of what you're looking at. Cause you don't want to just make claims without substantial evidence. So I assume this is what it helps. Let me see. I wrote it down, but it doesn't really look as good as what I put it. It also serves as a remainder as after getting put through that system. What remains is basically the borderline of what's used inside critical thinking. If that makes sense. If not, just let me know. I'll probably fix that because I don't really like the way it sounds. Cut it kind of. It's like the elimination of redundancy. It kind of it leads to more efficient models, like efficient wording and efficient questions, theories, philosophy. It leads to more efficient ones of it, and it's kind of critical, and it can help further research and analysis, and resolve these issues that one could come up after putting the question or the philosophy through the gauntlet. And question five A: how much required reading have you done? To be transparent, there's no penalty for honesty. Uh, I think I've read two books in the beginning. I haven't really read much after that. I've read some other books from the library, but there's really not much I've read. And how much of the required film did you watch? Again, be transparent. Since there's no penalty for honesty, I've read about three and a half. I watched two in class, and I watched another one here, and then I watched like half of it, and then I had to do something that I just completely forgot. Kind of threw it out the window, which is not good. Number 7: what is the main argument of being unknown? Give specific details concerning the reading and why it relates to Socrates and his own philosophical inquiry. So, being unknown is it basically it talks about the limits of human knowledge and the importance of recognizing one's own ignorance. And this relates to Socrates because Socrates is always big as part of the reason why he's also died. He's part of a this philosophical inquiry is basically questioning yourself and self-examination, questioning everything. Like, is this really true? Is this really what it means to be, something? It aligns with very closely with well, I won't say aligns. It talks a lot about recognizing one's ignorance, like you've said, our professor Lane said in class multiple times. The more you know, the more you don't know. So, and I think that's very interesting that you say that, because in a way it's true. You know, there's also you learn something new every day, but the more you, I don't want to say more you know. I would phrase it as the higher awareness you gain, the more you realize how smaller you are. You know, I think that's a way you could word it too. Like if you're really aware that you're in a universe, the more you realize it's only a small part of the universe. You're like a grain of sand, probably smaller compared to the universe in the way it operates. If you think of like about that in the perspective, I think it's quite interesting that you could you know, human knowledge is limited, you know, incomplete, if you will. I just don't, I just don't think, you know, I don't think we've realized the human limitations of knowledge, and we're ever growing to gain more knowledge. What makes it crazier. We pursue knowledge, but it shows how little knowledge we really know, if that makes sense. Question number 8. Why is probability elemental to understanding why is certain events transpire? Use of examples from the books, just odds. Like I said before, I didn't do that much reading. I kind of skimmed through. I read like 2 books in the beginning, so, but I'm pretty sure I got the gist of it when it was getting scanned a bit. So basically, just odds is it kind of it kind of explores the crucial, like how probability playing plays a part in crucial decision making, risk assessment, you know, and like the likelihoods of various events and situations. That's what I wrote on paper because we kind of went over some of the questions in class. But I'm gonna kind of break down the first part, why probability elemental to understand why certain events transpire. Uh, it's not really, you won't get it unless you know. So I could give an example of probability. There's a probability of me dying from walking outside, getting hit, shot, something like that. Is the probability high of it happening? No. So that makes me that gives me a sense of not safety, but it numbs down my awareness to the situation of the possibility of it happening because the probability of it is low. Because if the probability of if I got a phone call, let's say, and someone told me, "Oh yeah, I'm after you. I'll see you around this time. If I ever catch you outside around this time," is down. The possibility of me going outside goes down drastically because the probability of me getting attacked or hurt, killed goes up drastically because I'm aware of the fact that I could potentially get hurt or die from the possibility of it happening because of a phone call. I don't know if I worded that correctly. I think I did, but that's just one example to. Uh, that's kind of complex. I'm gonna give a smaller example. A smaller example would be, let's say a stomach ache. A stomach ache. If I ate, the probability of me getting a stomach ache from eating a bunch of food, overeating, is extremely high, leading to the giving me the possibility. The probability of me getting a stomach ache is high. If I eat too much, so the possibility of me not eating that much, me having awareness of switching, if I eat this much, the probability of me getting a stomach ache is higher. So the number that I wouldn't eat as much, me knowing the awareness, compared to, you know, the probability of me getting a stomach ache for eating like one cheeseburger. The probability of it is low, so I'm aware of the situation, so I'll probably eat it anyway. I hope that makes it sense of how probability plays elemental understanding why certain events transpire. Because if a probability of something is happening, you can calculate most things that happen by probability. Uh, whether it be rain, that's how weather people kind of tell the rain based off probability of another place where the weather is moving. They take the probability. It's like, okay, 30%, 50%, 79% chance of rain happening in this place at this time. That's kind of how it works, and that's how probability kind of plays a part into understanding why certain events transpire. Number 9, give an updated version in your own words. Be creative. Plato's algorithm of the cave. Give a little brief explanation. The algorithm of cave, it basically saying that we live in a cave. Basically, us humans live in a cave, and what we see on the wall is shadows. We see a bunch of our lives are shadows on the wall. Our movements, hand gestures, our whole life is a bunch of shadows on the cave wall. But since we're in the cave and we don't know that it's the actual sun projecting, allowing shadows to happen. That's basically to shorten that algorithm of Plato's algorithm of allegory of cave. To put it in my own words, I think I think it's I don't think we all live in a cave, if I'm saying it right. I think we all have a separate, different abode because our expansion in, like I said before, our expansion and awareness of life depends on how much we know. Like, the more we know, the more we don't know, or the more awareness we have, the more we realize how little we actually are. What I mean by this is we all have a cave, but each cave has different placement of rocks. Some caves are old, some caves are new, some caves have built with over a foundation of experience or have withered away due to time, and we get more cracks of sunlight. And as time passed by, we can kind of realize, peek up and realize there's something shining inside the cave, which allows it. I mean, again, like I said, according. We all have our own cave, and according to press, some people might not realize until a later time than others, or some people might realize sooner than others because of time, experience, where you're at inside the cave. That allows some light to come through, or what you see inside the cave, or how you interpret it. Not just they don't have to be something like how you interpret the shadows on the wall. Some people can see them as different people, or my eyes are kind of going down this way. I'm looking at me, but the camera's up here. What I mean by that is some people can potentially see shadows as a different form of life, or a tool. They could see shadows as a tool. It just depends on what you go through of the fact that you see shadows. I completely agree with the fact that there's shadows on the wall, and we build our life around it, and we don't realize that the sun is the cause of the shadows. But I think as time goes on, we're able to peek through some cracks and kind of build experience to realize something is causing this, and depending on what we do or what we see, it can alter our vision of the shadows and what they mean to us. Or some people might be able to get a little peek of the sun and realize maybe there's something bigger, gain awareness and realize maybe this isn't the end. I'm small right now, but maybe I can become bigger. Number 10. How would you live differently if Nietzsche's myth of eternal reoccurrence was shown to be true? That's a difficult question. Uh, there's People would argue that you would change your life completely. You would do more things to get more money, maybe get a family, do things different that could forever make you self satisfied and give you that long term happiness. Because we live in a society or culture right now where everything's about instant gratification more than the build up to the happiness or the gratification of it. So I would think if it was shown to be true, more people would look for the happiness in the long run compared to a lot of compared to instant gratification. People think about the consequences of their future because of the present, and change. A lot of things would change. I think I don't want to say society would get safer because knowing some people, they will do whatever they want for the sake of being able to relive that. I was reading a model today of someone who's went through 100 regressions. He's relived his life over and over and over. Some things, of course, have changed because he learned his lesson, but it was like a game. He would go there, he would die, he would come back, he would follow, make sure everything went according to plan to have the best playthrough possible to be able to pass the game. It came to a certain point where he got there at the end, and he realized, I mean, there was a penalty for him being by himself because he did all these regressions, did it over and over, but he was by himself doing it. And kind of instant gratification, like I was saying. He was doing it over and over to get that instant work. But when he got to the end, it kind of told him that he needed other people. I'm not saying that long term gratification comes from other people, but I was saying it kind of teaches you a lesson that not just instant gratification, but you need other things. That's not the people. You need other things than what's being portrayed to make you happier or to be able to pass something in the long run. But that was just, me being put, if you could say, nice. Realistically, if it was real, obviously you could change your code to have better morals, integrity, honor, give honor upon yourself, and self justice. I don't want to say self righteousness because self righteousness is a dangerous road. It's kind of one tracked into being a martyr, if you know what that is. But probably living authentically. But of course, if you knew that, of course, even in the manga, he got money. I would, of course, change, get more money, save more money, put more money up. I would go for more lotteries. I'm reliving over and over. I probably know some stuff. I'll probably invest in a lot of things. So when it's time to redo, I know basically which ones are happening, which ones succeed, and which ones to fail, and kind of change that up. It's basically just me ranting about it, but if the myth of eternal reoccurrence was shown to be true, I quite frankly think it would be lovely if it was true. And I would change a lot of things, but keep the bases the same. Question 11. Who do you think won the quantum debate between Einstein and Bohr? Be sure to back your argument with key codes from the readings or from your own research. Like I said before, I really do much readings. I did a little bit of research, but it's kind of what I can tell from both point of views. Einstein's position was basically, God doesn't play dice with the universe, and he didn't really like probabilistic and things that were indeterminate by quantum mechanics. He kind of believed that it didn't make sense then it didn't find let me see, how do I put this? He kind of believed that there was underlying it was things behind the scenes that determined the principles that hasn't been discovered. While Bohr, on the other hand, he kind of promoted the idea that that there was changes of because the role of observers. I didn't say that right. My accent kind of come out. And the measurement process, he kind of argued that the phenomena were fundamentally, the act of measuring itself kind of changed where it was. And who do I think won on this debate? Einstein. Not because I know him more, or not because I don't know Bohr less, because I just don't think don't think that's true in general. Because we have you know Bohr's theory is kind of, if we know the speed, we don't know where the item itself is at, and if we know where it's at, we don't know the speed in which it's going. And I think that's false. I believe Einstein. I think there's something that we haven't figured out, that we haven't noticed, that can determine that factor. That could determine that factor. Actually, I'm more into the futuristic AI stuff. Also, like giving AI consciousness. I was kind of with that also, but that's different. But I think there's always something underlaying that could improve it. Like right now, if we know where a car is and from where it's going, like if it moves from here and it jumps to here within a couple seconds, we can estimate the speed at which it's going, or if it's going at a certain speed, we can estimate where it's going to be at a certain time. The fact that we're unable to do that, and kind of in the quantum, that they weren't able to figure it out in the quantum debate, quantum mechanics, they weren't able to figure that out. I think we're missing something huge. We're missing something big, even. Of course, there's different arguments that can be made. Uh, like Professor Lane was saying, there could be arguments that were made. That a big hand is messing with your watch. You're able to break it, which there is some substantial background to it. But think about it in the long run, how far we've came. There has to be something missing for us not to be able to understand, because we know the location. If we're able to look at it, but we don't know the speed it's going, we know the location. That means if we're able to know the location, we should be able to make an estimate. If we're able to make an estimate of the speed, we can figure out where it's going. We figure out where it's going based off the estimate of the speed. We can then find out where it's at. But as me talking about it, I don't know if it can actually be put into practice. That's the problem with the debate. One thinks we're missing something. It doesn't like the probabilistic part, which I believe in probability, and one argues that God plays dice in the dark, and when we turn the light, the dice number changes. I think that's also I think that's a weird way of putting it. If it was phrased another way, it would be more agreeable. I believe it would be better to phrase it as, when God throws the dice in the dark, it doesn't stop until you turn on the light. I think that would be more accurate to say than saying he throws the dice in the dark, it stops, and we turn the light, it switches. I think it would be more to say it keeps rolling until you turn the light, and then that's when it stops. I think if you look at it at a different perspective, it could be explained that way. But again, that's just me talking. Question 11. Oh, let's do question 11's. I think it would be question 12. I think there's 20 questions, but it's kind of moved down. So question 12. Why was Bruno regarded as a heretic for his views? So basically, he was regarded as a heretic because it questioned the church. The church has certain views. He kind of hold views like, infinite universe, or like in spreading unorthodox ideas in the church eyes. So basically, he believed that each star kind of held its own inhabitants, which went against the church. Of course, he believed the church believed God kind of centered the universe around Earth, and we're kind of special to God. And basically, Bruno, as they called him a heretic, he didn't want to. He didn't. It's not that he wanted. He didn't. Even when he was given the option, he didn't take back his views. Even in torture, when they kind of arrested him, he didn't give up his. He didn't change his views, and they kind of hated that. He was kind of what's the word for that? Like he was steadfast. He was steadfast, and kind of held his ground, which kind of strengthened the church's view of him being a heretic for not agreeing or taking back his previous statement because which he believed, which I believe what they call it, like that's not chivalry, but that he has honor, great honor and great pride, and that is respectable in my eyes. And the camera's kind of still sliding. I might fix that. Let's see if I can fix it. That's a bit better. Yeah. So basically, he kind of spread his views, and it was very controversial at that time. Like now saying, uh, like a sensitive topic with women rights or trans people rights or men men rights at this point, because it's not believed that certain things, or you could say red pill or blue pill, that section in the social media community. It's a lot of controversy going on in this world with pronouns and stuff like that. If you say the wrong thing, you could be canceled. That's I guess that's the heretic of this day. That was back then. The word would be now is canceled. So they used to get canceled for saying the wrong thing or staying by your views, and you get punished for it. So that's basically with what Bruno did back in the day. He kind of questioned everything, kind of say maybe this isn't what it is, maybe maybe Earth isn't unique, maybe there's other things about the universe that we don't know. He kind of stuck by that, which gave him the name of heretic for that. Question 12. What is slash third 12? I think the number is messed up. It's a duplicate 11 versus 12. Question 12. What is string theory? How can it possibly explain the origins of matter? So basically, string theory is basically that it's the what do you say, the particles of the universe. It's not really point like particles, but tiny like vibrating strings that vibrate in different wavelengths and in different ways that give rise to the particles and the forces that we see, like or the things that we see now. That's basically what it is. It's saying that a string is multiple. There's a bunch of strings everywhere in the world, around the universe. The strings is attached, and different strings vibrate at different wavelengths, sending signals or particles or what do you call it? Uh, yeah, different particles that changes the shape or the way we see things, like a waves, like a wave of light or different waves of light that we will see, but it lets our eyes see different things based off the different vibrational wavelengths. Let's see, how can I explain the origins of matter? Uh, I don't think I don't think it explains the origins of matter. String theory, I don't think it could possibly, based off the explanation, I don't think it could possibly explain the origins of matter. Maybe it could. I think that theory gives hints to the origin of matter. Maybe it gives us a certain direction of a place we could look. Maybe try out a theory. Maybe we could test a theory we could test. But I don't think it. I don't think it could support the theory of the origin of matter. I mean, it could be used to study the early universe and like the kind of the process that led us to there in the to the the structures that we see in the universe. Like it could help us understand maybe the structures came about this way, back in the day, or maybe help us look at extra dimensions of the way we see things. But I don't think it can explore the origin. I think something that could explain the origin, it's more like it's more likely to happen with the Big Bang theory. The string theory is good. It's good to maybe look at things differently. Like I said, maybe different dimensions because the vibrations we're not able to see things fully, or we able to see some things that maybe we couldn't before. But I think the Big Bang theory, the origin, the Big Bang theory, it's way better to help with the origin of matter. It just when the explosion happens, particles, etc., happens, creating the Earth and all the other stuff, and I think it explains more, like it gives more depth or more truth to the matter. A bunch of particles colliding and forming something, Earth, which is now, it's just colliding in a bunch of particles forming like a formation of particles forming together to make Earth. I think that makes way more sense than a bunch of vibrations helping us see things. I just believe it makes more sense, and it helps. I think the Big Bang Theory, promotes more the evolution, biological evolution, what we see, what we believe to be the way we evolved into humans. I think that gives more in depth. The Big Bang Theory gives more in depth than the string theory. Number 13, how can Darwin's theory of natural selection explain the emergence of consciousness? Uh, I think it focuses, on how species change over time. You know, Natural selection is, I want to say, based off the strongest, only the strongest survive. But I don't think that would entail. People say the strongest survive, but that could also mean the man who lives tell the tales. No, like I said, dead men don't tell any tales. That could also be the same for the people who don't live. It's the same thing. You could be the strongest, but if you're able to adapt to a situation faster than, let's say, let me see, let's take a peacock for example. Predators, take predators for example. Peacocks, female peacocks looks for let's just say the prettiest tail, the male with like the biggest tail, the prettiest tail, the best movement as a mate because it gives more survivability to their offspring in terms of surviving predators. So I think natural selection, kind of it doesn't it can provide insight into natural selection, you know, like I said, the survival advantage. Survival advantage gives a changed the game when it came to natural selection. Or maybe not just strong, but what about the environment? What about predators? What could help me survive them? So I think just being able to having an advantage in survival. The strongest doesn't always survive. The strongest always survives, so they say. But when it comes to natural selection, I don't think strong doesn't just mean survival. And when it comes to the emergence of consciousness, strong doesn't just mean survival. That also ties into adapting, high adaptability, which animal or which person can adapt the best in a situation, which again provides survivability. Uh, let's see. Obviously when it comes to survival advantage, you tend in like adaptability, you tend to learn, obviously. So it also includes what is a mental cognitive ability. It helps you, learn, remember, adapt. Like I was saying, it helps you adapt to the changes that could happen, which again leads to an advantage in surviving when you're able to adapt and learn things. Like, oh, when I was there last, this worked for me last time when I was at the watering well. So if I use it again, I have a higher chance of surviving than before. So, and also, like I said before, as a peacock uses it learns to, you know, adapt to the environment. It learns to, what makes the female want them more than ever. Again, with it ties into social interactions, not just in animal kingdom but in human kingdom. Like, what do women find? What do women find? What are they attracted to? What are you attracted to? That's why men like pretty faces, and women like good lies. Or typically, that's the way it goes in the dating scene. We're able to learn, remember, and adapt to what women want. So we get the chance of getting laid. Just to put forward, give us the chance of getting laid when we're able to do that and up our social interactions with the other gender, or in a workplace or a boss to be able to give us the advantage in surviving in a workplace, uh, competitive in the dating field. It's all around natural selection. That's always about not just being the strongest that survive, but the best for the future in the long run. Number 14. Why did Darwin and Wallace part company over the human mind? So they parted the company over the human evolution. So they both agreed on natural selection, but it was kind of they had different views on evolution of the human mind. Okay, there we go. So basically, Darwin believed that natural selection was kind of the driving force of evolution behind the mind, and like reason, problem solving, adaptability. While Wallace kind of agreed that natural selection had an evolution, like had an effect on physical traits, like behaviors, and and he didn't really like the idea that instead of a physical, it worked on the mental, and he thought like other forces outside of the mind and stuff like that played a force on human intellect, or like play like other forces. Excuse me. Yeah, so basically Wallace thought that there might be other non material factors that played the evolution on the human intellect. So they basically split company over human evolution on the mind. Wallace thought it was more physical, while Darwin's thought it was like more mental, like intellectual, stuff like that. Number 15 so far. What is your favorite film? Like I said, I didn't really watch many films either, but some of the films we did watch and I did find interesting was the quantum mechanical nature of photosynthesis. And then I also found Plato's algorithm of the cave, of course, and I also found the myth of eternal reassurance. Quite interesting. Those are my favorite films. I don't have a favorite film. If I have to choose, it probably uh I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite film, but the top will probably be Plato's algorithm of the cave, because life might be so much smaller, or we might not be, our world might revolve on something so small that we're not looking at the bigger picture. So I think Plato's algorithm of the cave is just, I think that might be my favorite. I don't have a favorite, but that might be the top film that I like at the moment. Number 16. What does visited stand for, and how can it help you explain design without a designer? So it basically is a vegetal, imperfect, symbiotic, uh, inefficient, transitional, and embryonic divergent. So basically, this it's like biology. It kind of helps. It explains design without a designer. Uh, kind of with natural selection. So it helps. Let me see how could I phrase this. So it kind of illustrates the natural process. Let me see. It kind of illustrates the natural process and evolution through natural selection. It kind of like puts like patterns and features on a big screen. And trying to like it shows how we got to the design. We How do we get to our current design without a designer? Like it kind of gets rid of the need that we were already made this way, but we got here over billions of years, millions and billions of years, over certain characteristics building up. Like this new Netflix show, Life on Our Planet. It kind of shows the evolution of certain animals and how they changed to adapt to where they were living. Like it's like this one animal with like it grew a hard shell for protection, but it ended up being protection on land. But it also had downsides on how, but it was over millions and billions of years. So Visit It kind of gives evolutionary biology a natural process without us just one day appearing. It gives us, a process over millions and billions a year on how we could get to where we are without one day waking up being this way. If that's the simplest way I could put it. Numbers 17 and 18 are basically other work and extra credit. So I'm gonna go to number 19. Number 19, what is quantum superstition? What does it tell us about the limits of human intuition and cognition? Quantum superstition is basically it's like a central concept. Determines intuition about the physical world. It's like uh, it kind of demonstrates the behavior of particles and a fundamental probabilistic, like in a wave, kind of. Uh, what is it? Instead of having definite and like, instead of having definite, predictable outcomes, it gives us a probability of different states that it's able to take and move around into. Is measured by uncertainty and described as a different multiple energy levels of spin states. That's basically it. It's not really much I can explain when it comes to quantum superstition. I'm not really smart on this type of stuff, but what I can tell us about the human's intuition, the limits of it, it, it kind of shows because it defies our ability to to kind of grasp the behavior of particles. Like you were saying before, when it comes to quantum mechanics, the more we know where something is, the less we know its speed, and the more we know its speed, the less we know where it's at. So basically, this kind of shuts down. It kind of no, it not shuts down, but it shows us the limits of how far we're able to look when it comes to quantum mechanics. Quantum superstition kind of it, it shows how what's a way of putting it? It shows it provides different probabilities for outcomes, but since the limits of human intuition comes through, we're unable to grasp those probabilities. We're unable to see the bigger picture. This is one of the reasons why I agree with Einstein, because I think there's something else in the back, like something that's under the layer that's not allowing us to see the position in the speed, which is why I think quantum superstition limits human intuition and our ability to think, because instead of looking for that underline, which some scientists are doing, they kind of we have people like Bohr who kind of say God's throwing dice in the dark, and when you turn on the light, there's a different number. I just don't think I don't think that's it. I think it's the dice are rolling, and it stops when we turn on the light, and we need something like night goggles to be able to see how it's rolling, and make a probable answer based off how it's rolling, how fast it's rolling, and where it's rolling to. So human intuition, the limits of human intuition kind of shows based off quantum mechanics, and how much we really don't know when it comes to this stuff. I'm not very smart when it comes to all this. I could read on it, or I can look it up all day. But I'm not really educated when it comes to all this quantum stuff, quantum mechanics, computing, and all the other stuff. I'm not really smart when it comes to it. But it intrigues me because it questions life, and because it questions life, like I said, it really shows us the limits of how far we really think, how our the limits of our intuition, and the limits of how far we're able to really think about the backgrounds of it. That's why I have a lot of respect for Einstein. The debate over Einstein and Bohr, I think it really helped. It helped push scientific methods to the point of where we're at right now. But I think we're missing the underlay, and because probabilistic nature is a real thing. Probabilistic nature is like it's like instead of having a definite, you know, predictable outcomes, it kind of provides different probabilities of different states, and the particle measured, is uncertain by probability. This is the particle measured is basically uncertain, and because of our limited human intuition, we're able to find methods to make those particles certain, and find out the speed and place at which it's going, which I think it's possible to do it. I really think it's possible. That's the end of the questions. I'm gonna probably make a separate video for the post for the different posts for the different worksheets we got. I'll probably make a different video for them, but this is my final. It's pretty long. Most likely gonna skip through a lot and try to get most of the main things you need. I'm not sure if half of them are right, to be honest. You'll probably have me redo them, but this is it so far. I'm gonna probably put a separate video with it. And plug in all the I'm gonna read the Chat GTP answers in a separate video after I plug in the questions that you have here. Okay. I decided not to make a separate video. I'm gonna just speed running because the Chat GTP basically said most of the same stuff, but into more depths. So I'm gonna speed run it real quick. So basically, number one, how did Socrates sentenced to death? Let me see. It says the same thing. He was corrupting the youth. Atheism. He was challenging the authority, like I was saying, and his association with criticism of the government. He was, he suspected the eyes of those in power. The allegation led to Socrates being put in trial. He was found guilty and he was sentenced to death. Okay, by drinking poison. Okay, yeah, it's basically just added. It's basically just went more depth about him correcting the youth and encouraging critical thinking. He promoted the idea of divine principle, rather a single divine principle rather than multiple gods. So I kind of just added a bunch of other stuff. Question 2: why is the conflict in science between religion? Same thing, just more things, different methods of inquiry. Science relies on evidence and natural explanations to understand the world, while religion relies on faith and revelation and mystical explanations. Yes, the conflicts in the explanations, ethical, moral issues raised, such as those related to stem cells, genetic engineering, stuff like that. It goes really in depth. Historical conflicts. Yep, religious authorities have opposed scientific discoveries or theories, such as Galileo's heliocentrism and institutional conflicts, literal interpretations. So some religious individuals or groups hold literal interpretations of religious texts, which lead to conflicts when these texts are seen as conflicting with scientific findings, perceived as threats to worldview. Again, people don't like it when their views are challenged. People like to reinforce their views based off of other evidence. So that kind of changes things. What is this? Number three. Did I skip it? Let me see. I forgot to plug it in. Okay, there we go. While understanding physics and general rules of the universe important to philosophy. So it gives a foundation. So ChatGPT said it's a foundation for metaphysics, epistemology. It provides, fundamental framework for understanding the nature of reality, philosophy, and science. It often engages scientific theories and methods. It's crucial when discussing nature and scientific explanation, cosmology, and existential questions. So again, asking the right questions, as I said earlier, it allows you to ask the right questions instead of just any question. It gets ethical, moral implications, interdisciplinary dialogue, avoiding misconceptions and fallacies. So you don't want to add questions that's lies. You want to add questions based off the truth and evidence. You want to ask it based on evidence. You don't want inaccurate claims or arguments with it. And it promotes critical thinking and logical reasoning, of course. Number 4, what is limited materialism? I said it's eliminate belief and replaced by materialistics with evidence. And it kind of says right here, eliminate a philosophical theory about the nature of the mind and mental state, particularly the context of philosophy of the mind. It resulted radical and controversial position that changes some of the traditional ways of understanding the mind. Limitative materialism argues that the way we currently conceptualize mental states and entities such as beliefs, desires, and consciousness is fundamentally flawed, and that these concepts should be eliminated from our understanding of the mind. Well, that's completely different from what I put. So I put like the eliminating belief and replaced by material things that could be like replaced with physical things. Like I said with the sun, people thought it was a god, believed it was like a god, but science proved it to be just a ball of gas, a star, a ball of gas that emits heat. And this says, it just argues that it's found that the mental states of entities is fundamentally flawed, and that these concepts should be eliminated from understanding of that mind. So it's just two completely different answers in this way. Okay, question 5. What is it meant by integrated reductionism, and what can help critical thinking? It says it's a philosophy and a philosophy of science that involves explaining and connecting different theories or levels of explanation in hierarchical. A reductionist manner, it aims to bridge the gap between theories at different levels or domains of scientific inquiry, especially relevant to the fields like of philosophy and science, cognitive science, and philosophy of the mind. So it says connecting different theories or levels of explanation in a hierarchy or reductionist manner. So it says that, but I think it's just another word for what I put. It's like having a remainder after putting the theories through a gauntlet. So it kind of bridges theories and different questions together after dissecting them, putting them through different phases of math. So sociology, psychology, philosophy, all the other stuff. After putting it through there, kind of gets a remainder after. That's what I get from here. Undying knowledge, identifying common principles, clarity and precision, bridge between theory and disciplines, eliminating of redundancy, identification of gaps and consistencies, inconsistencies, and understanding. So it's basically just repeating what I said, but in a more complex manner, of course. 5-1A is personal. Number 6, personal, about the readings and films. What is the main argument of being of unknown? I think I plugged that one in too. Let me see. Yeah, I have it. Number 7. Okay. It explains what being unknown is. It's perspective that acknowledges the limits of the human knowledge and importance to recognize on ignorance. This concept is closely related to philosophy of Socrates and the approach of physical inquiry. He's famously known for his statement, "I know that I'm intelligent because I know nothing." It's kind of what you said, Professor Lane, with the fact that the more you know, the more you don't know. You know, so okay, but it puts his quote in there. He emphasized the importance of questioning and self-examination, which often leads to the realization of important knowledge was limited and incomplete. He believed that true wisdom begins with the recognition of one's own ignorance. Yes. Emphasis on self-examination, irony and humility, the Socratic paradox, dialect method, correlation with ignorance, inquiry, and epistemic humility. Yep. Number 8. Why is it probably elemental to understanding why certain events transpire? Use examples from the book Just Odds. This one says probability is an element. Understand why certain events transpire because it provides framework of assessing quantifying uncertainty, which is inherent in many real-world situations. Just Odds explores the concept and demonstrates how probability plays a crucial role in decision-making, risk assessment, and understanding the likelihood of various outcomes. Here are some examples from the book. Yeah, so it's basically just going into more detail on what I said. Gambling and risk assessment, insurance and actuarial science, medical decision-making, financial markets and investment, sports and betting. Okay, so kind of just go over the different chapters of the book. Number 9, give an updated version of Plato's Allegory in the Cave. It couldn't really do that. It just told me what Plato's Allegory of the Cave was. So I'm gonna skip that one because it's just a repeat. And the same thing with number 10. How would you live differently if Nietzsche's myth of eternal resurrection is shown to be true? It couldn't really give an answer because it's not a human, so it wouldn't know how it would live. And it explained what it was. It said all events eternally recurring in an infinite cycle. It gave a list of things humans could do, not something it would do. It's to embrace every moment, act with integrity, overcome regrets, live authentically, pursue the meaning of fulfillment, cultivate resilience, prioritize relationship, live in present, strive for self-improvement, minimize harm. So it's basic things that humans would do. It didn't really give a self answer for this question, so I was going to skip it. But since it gave like a list, I'll put it in there. Number 11. Who do you think won the quantum debate between Einstein and Bohr? Be sure to back up your argument with keynotes and read. Okay. Boom. It lists it says that there's no clear winner in the debate that Einstein and Bohr made. It gives Einstein's and Bohr's position of Einstein, often summary statement, God does not play dice with the universe, reflected his discomfort with probabilistic and indeterministic nature of quantum mechanics. He believed that there were underlying deterministic principles yet to be discovered, and he challenged the competence of the quantum theory. Bohr, on the other hand, advocated Copenhagen interpretation of the quantum mechanics, emphasized the idea of complementarity and the role of observers in the measurement of the process. Yep. So Einstein didn't like that probabilistic, that God throws dice in the dark, and when you turn light on, it was still a different number. And Bohr kind of said, that the more we know of his position, well, he didn't say that, but it's kind of argued that the observers The more we observe, the more it changes. The more we know of his position, the less we know his speed, and the more we know his speed, the less we know his position. The observer, we're kind of breaking it as we observe it, we change it. That's basically what Bohr's stance was. It kind of explains that, and it says ultimately there was no winner, but it helped evolve uh, the future of quantum reality and helped the quantum science. It helps evolved it. That's basically what it says. And again, I do agree with Einstein. I think we're missing something under the fact that I don't think there's really probability in this either. I think we're missing something crucial in this stage that could possibly change the way we do quantum mechanics of so we can know where the where it's at and how fast it's going. Speed it up a bit. So was Bruno regarded as a heretic for the views. It kind of explains who Bruno was. He was an Italian philosopher, mathematician, and cosmologist, and lived in the late 16th century. Was regarded as a heretic for several reasons, primarily for his revolutionary unorthodox views that challenged prevailing religion and scientific orthodoxy of his time. Some key reasons why Bruno was a heretic: cosmological views, infinite universe, rejection of the church dogma, pantheism and hermetism, refusal or recant, spreading unorthodox ideas. So basically, same thing, spreading staying by his views and spreading the fact that there could be other ways than the church. In 16th century, of course, if it's not aligned with the church, you're considered a heretic. So, ultimately, Bruno's unyielding commitment to his unorthodox cosmology, theological, and philosophical ideas led to his trial by the Roman Catholic Inquisition. He was found guilty of heresy in 1600, burned at the stake in Rome. His ideas were considered heretical in his time, and they have since contributed to the development of modern science and cosmology. Bruno's willingness to change orthodoxy and defend his beliefs as beta symbol of intellectual courage and a pursuit of knowledge. I completely agree with. It gave I guess you could say it's a step in free speech. Okay, next question. What is string theory and how can you possibly explain the origins of matter? String theory is a theoretical framework in physics that attempts to reconcile generally and quantum mechanics while providing a unified description of fundamental forces and particles in the universe that posits that most fundamental buildings and blocks in the universe are not point-like particles but tiny vibrating strings. These strings come in various forms, vibrations, modes that interactions between them give rise to the particles and the forces we observe in the universe. So it's pretty long. Again, this is all ChatGPT. I did my first half to like the 53 mark. And this is the second half. It's going a bit fast since they already have the answers out for me. So, that's string theory, unifying forces, quantum gravity, particle spectrum, higher dimensions, cosmic evolution. All of these is attached to string theory. And it says, it's important to know that string theory is still highly theoretical and complex framework and has not been experimentally confirmed. Researchers in this field continue to explore its mathematical intricacies and implications of the nature of the universe. While it holds great promise for providing a unified understanding of the fundamental forces of the matter, it is not yet definitely explained or origins of matter, and much work remains to be done to validate its predictions through experimentations. Okay. How is Darwin's theory of natural selection explain the emergence of consciousness? Charles Darwin theory of natural selection, which is a fundamental concept of the field of biology, primarily explains the emergence of evolution of biology traits and adaptations in living organisms. It focuses on how species change over time in response to environmental pressures, while Natural selection can provide insights to some aspects to the emergence of consciousness. It does not fully explain the complexity of the consciousness itself. Here's how natural selection is related to consciousness, and it lists a bunch of things. Okay, repeat. Survival advantage, complex adaptations, increased cognitive abilities, social interactions, and complex behaviors. This is why it's led to the development of traits and abilities that are indirectly related to consciousness. It does not directly explain the emergence of self-awareness. Subjectively experience a deep philosophical question surrounding consciousness. The origin of consciousness remain complex and area. Okay. Next question. Why did Darwin and Wallace part the company of the human mind? They part of the company over the human evolution of the mind. Oh, yeah, there we go. They said, however, they independently eroded the natural selection as a mechanism for all explaining the diversity of life from Earth. However, they did have different views on certain aspects of evolution, including the evolution of the human mind. Some key points that had Darwin's view: believed that natural selection was the driving force behind evolution of human mental and intellectual capacities. Argued that the cognitive abilities of reasoning, problem solving, emotional intelligence could be explained. The same principles of natural selection applied to the physical traits. Wallace viewed, while in agreement with Darwin's on many aspects of evolution, had somewhat different perspective of the human mind. Even natural selection could explain physical traits and behaviors found, but it was challenging to accept that it could account for uniquely human mental and intellectual capabilities. Okay. Next question. This is my favorite film, but you can't really answer that since it doesn't know the films. Number 16. What does visitor stand for? And how can it help with design without a designer? This okay, kind of lists the same thing you said. Vegetal, imperfect, symbiotic, inefficient, transition, embryonic, and divergent. So this acronym also uses kind of evolutionary biology and explains how natural process such as evolution through natural selection can lead to appearance of design and living organized without need for deliberate designer. Here's a brief explanation. Okay, there we go. It shows it's a tool in the context of evolution biology to illustrate how natural process such as evolution through natural selection can explain the appearance of design and live and organize without the need for a deliberate designer. It emphasizes the pattern and features observed in the natural world can be understood as products of evolutionary mechanisms we shared ancestry. I don't know. Let's just list all your posts and taste them. We can't really do that. The last question, I think, is number 19. What is quantum superposition? What does it tell us about the limits of human intuition and cognition? Quantum superposition is the fundamental concept of quantum mechanics. This is all JetGPT, which is a branch of the concept of quantum mechanics is the branch of physics that deals with the behavior of particles at a quantum level, including subatomic particles like electrons and photons. Superposition is the principle that describes the ability of quantum mechanics to exist in multiple states or positions simultaneously until they are measured or observed. This concept has several implications of the limits of human intuition. Yeah, like I said before, it's kind of the belief that we're able to we can only see where it's at or see how fast it's going one at a time. You can't see both of them at the same time. And when we measure it or observe it, it changes its state at that very time, so we can never get an accurate measurement of it. I think we're missing something to be able to get an accurate measurement. That's me personally. That's not ChatGPT. I think we're missing something personally, but it does show the limits of human intuition because again, we're unable to find the ways to measure it because it's always changing and it's so delicate. So again, ChatGPT, the concept and places for the limits of human intuition, in cognition, multiple states, probabilistic nature, wave particle duality, entanglement, challenges of visualization, mathematical formalism, counterintuitive experiments, In summary, quantum mechanics, quantum superposition challenges our classical deterministic intuition about the physical world, demonstrates that the quantum level behavior of particles is fundamental probabilistic, like a wave-like, and defies our ability to intuitively grasp the behavior of particles. Quantum mechanics often necessitate a more abstract and mathematical understanding, highlighting the limits of human intuition and classical cognition in comprehending the quantum world. That's it for this. Of course, it's not perfect. I tried to edit it some. As you see, there's gonna be some cutoffs if you can see them. It's not perfect. Just you can just send it back to me, tell them redo it, because I know some things I could have changed or made better and did less stuttering. Okay, this is the end. It is officially 11. No, yeah, it's 11/1/2023. It's 11:23 a.m. There we go.